Bean from Public Works, Gwen Zimmer, Frank Blitzler, Chris Gallagher, Ben Haas, Shannon Kurth, and Kim Parsons. Tonight, we have members of the county's youth and governments here tonight. Yep. Program, they're participating in the meeting in a non-binding advisory capacity. Nicholas Blewett, it's Flores, Adane Mercinos Cabrera, and Dysa Ward. Please silence your cell phone. The meeting is being recorded. Thank you. Now we're going to begin the meeting. Roll call has been noted. Item number 2, a joint resolution by the Finance and Human Resources and Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee authorizing acceptance and adoption of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Integrated Feasibility Report Environmental Assessment of the Horlick Dam and its recommendations to proceed with removal of Horlick Dam. Anticipated action by the committees. First reading tonight, 26th. Chairman Troutier.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. I would like to call to order the Finance and Human Resource Committee meeting. I do need to march through a couple of items here. And on my agenda, I'd like approval of the minutes from March 20th, 2024 from my committee. I hear a first and a second. Any discussion in regards to the minutes of March 20th, 2024? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the minutes from March 20th.
Mr. Chairman, you need to get the youth and governance vote.
Are you ready to make a statement? Come on up and sit next to me. Oh, the vote. Yeah, thank you. Youth and governance, all in favor? Thank you. Committee, all in favor? Are there any nays? Hearing none, the minutes of March 20th, 24 are approved. Your turn.
All right. So item number 2 I've read. And if Rolly Bean would give us the history.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to do a brief overview of the history of how we got here, what we're proposing today, who's helping us along with this project. So basically, this is originally constructed in the Root River in 1835. The Horlick Dam served as a vital resource for milling operations until 1920s. In 1975, the dam underwent construction to ensure public safety and its continued functionality. After almost 50 years, it was constructed. However, it is imperative we confront the realities that are facing the Horlick Dam today. In 2011, a dam safety report identified issues with dam structure, which resulted in the Department of Natural Resources classifying the dam as conditionally fair. This assessment also found that while the dam has a low hazard rating, there were significant concerns about its ability to withstand potential flood events and meet the necessary safety standards. After careful review with the DNR, it was determined that the dam no longer meets its state requirements for flood storage and capacity. As the owner of the dam and responsible stewards of natural resources in our community, it is Racine County's duty to address these shortcomings and ensure safety for well-being for all. In accordance with the DNR's compliance guidelines, the county was made aware that the dam spillway capacity must either be improved to meet the standards or removed entirely by 2024. Racine County has undertaken proactive measures to collaborate with the DNR, local environment groups, and the United States Army Corps of Engineers to address this pressing issue. These groups bring with them considerable experience and expertise with water resource management, infrastructure projects, and environmental improvement initiatives. In 2017, Racine County engaged a partnership with the Army Corps of Engineers to facilitate the exploration of alternatives with the Horlick Dam. The Army Corps of Engineers brings with them extensive knowledge, resources, and expertise in similar projects, enabling them to address this challenging effectively while meeting our needs for compliance and accomplishing environmental improvements for the Root River and its tributaries. The Army Corps of Engineers will discuss their feasibility study and environmental documentation and proposal to remove the Horlick Dam to accomplish the goals of both the DNR compliance as well as environmental improvement. Thank you all for your attention, and now I'm going to turn it over to the DNR with their PowerPoint.
Hey, this is Ryan Johnson with the Corps. Raleigh said the DNR, but I'm assuming he meant the Corps of Engineers.
I apologize, Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring up the slideshow now. Let me know when you guys are seeing it.
Okay, we see it.
Okay, great. I'm not able to see everyone while I'm presenting, so please just interrupt and stop me along the way if there's questions. So tonight, I'm Ryan Johnson. I'm a planner with the Army Corps of Engineers Chicago District, and we're here today to present the the feasibility study results for the Horlick Dam, the Root River restoration, as Raleigh outlined. So just a quick overview. We're going to start with introductions of our team here. We'll talk about the authority, project overview, then we'll discuss the alternatives that we considered during plan formulation, followed by the tentatively selected plan. And then we'll give a quick discussion of the benefits, impacts, and concerns of the tentatively selected plan. And lastly, we'll talk about the proposed schedule moving forward. So introductions, I actually have this slide wrong. Instead of Patrick Kennedy today, he's on leave. So we have Alex Hoxie with us. He's the section chief for the planning branch in Chicago District. Have myself, who's the lead planner on this project and a biologist. And then we have Nick LaLuzerne, who's our real estate specialist for the project. So why are we here today? Back in February of 2020, Racine County approached the Corps looking for assistance, as Raleigh outlined, with the dam. In December of 2020, the Corps and Racine County entered a cost share agreement to investigate the feasibility of a federal project. Now we're here. We are finalizing the recommendation of our tentatively selected plan. And tonight, we're presenting the project status and a path to implementation. So the authority that we're doing this feasibility study under is the Great Lakes Fishery and Ecosystem Restoration, Section 506. This is a authority that the Corps has to do aquatic ecosystem restoration projects that are in connectivity with the Great Lakes. So we have the Horlick Dam here, the Root River. As I mentioned, we're in the planning phase. As part of this authority, the feasibility planning, design, construction, and evaluation is cost shared at 65% federal dollars and 35% non-federal dollars. And we have the estimated project cost shown here at just over $2.5 million total. So the federal study objectives here. The federal study objectives are to reestablish the quality and connectivity of riverine habitats in the Root River. So we want to reestablish that natural hydrologic, hydraulic, and geomorphic parameters to support riverine habitat and species. And we also want to reestablish that connectivity. So fish, mussels, and other species can move up and down the river past the barrier that is now the Horlick Dam. So very quick project overview. The non-federal sponsor is Racine County Public Works. We're in the coastal area of Lake Michigan in the Root River watershed, roughly 6 miles upstream of the confluence of the Root River with Lake Michigan. And we're working in a riverine system here. However, the dam creates the impoundment here, as we mentioned. So a quick overview of the Horlick Dam. As Raleigh said, it's a low hazard dam. It's a run of the river dam. The impoundment is roughly 60 acres. The height of the damming structure is roughly 12 feet. The width is approximately 125 feet. The owner is Racine County Public Works. The dam was originally constructed in 1834. However, it's been reworked multiple times, with the current structure last being rebuilt in 1975. As Rowley mentioned, there's an upgrade required because the dam currently cannot pass the 100-year flood event and is not compliant with Wisconsin Admin Code 333.071. So from our plan formulation side of things, what are the problems presented here as part of our study? So a few problems here. We have riverine fragmentation, which is induced by the dam. So it prevents fish and mussel migration. We list some species here that are prominent in the river. There's also altered riverine processes. So the impoundment has more lake-like conditions and less riverine conditions. This condition results in sediment backup behind the dam and then scoured habitat down below the dam, since all of the sediment is sequestered upstream. And the dam also impacts the river's ability to absorb flood pulses. So usually when a river floods, it fills up and connects with that floodplain. But here with the impoundment, a lot of that floodplain storage space is taken up by the impounded water. So this also results in an altered riparian zone. The native species of plants that would normally secure the banks are altered. We also see poorer water quality in the impounded area. There's longer resident time of the water in the impoundment. It gets baked by the sun more and slows down. We have less oxygen and tend to see algal blooms. And then finally, there's a human safety concern with the dam as well. So what opportunities does that leave us with? Well, we have the opportunity to restore the watershed connectivity, to restore those riverine processes I talked about. We have an opportunity to restore natural sediment transport. We can improve riverine habitat, partially by exposing bedrock, which provides habitat for native fish and mussel species. And we can improve the water quality and reduce the life safety risk I discussed in the previous slide. So when we were going through the plan formulation process, we considered several alternatives. I have them listed here. Some of the alternatives were full dam removal along with sediment removal in the impoundment, bypass channel creation, fish ladder, which you can see here in the lower left. There's a photo of a fish ladder. It's actually on the Fox River down in Illinois. We had another alternative of creating in-stream habitat, which would mostly consist of large woody debris within the impounded area. And then finally, riparian zone plantings. So after going through and assessing those alternatives, we screened them. We actually screened all of them from further consideration except for full dam removal. So full dam removal meets both of our objectives in the study and is also considered acceptable to Racine County. The other ones were screened here. I give a quick description of why they were screened. So there's no need for sediment removal. The sediment was deemed clean and therefore unnecessary for removal. The bypass channel, it only meets one objective and it of passing fish, but it doesn't actually even allow for passage of all native fish. So that one was screened away. The fish ladder was screened for the exact same reason. It only partially meets that fish passage objective and doesn't do anything to restore upstream or downstream habitat. The in-stream habitat only partially met the objective of restoring habitat in the impoundment, but it doesn't allow fish passage. So that one was also screened. And then the riparian zone plantings, while it supports the objectives, there's issues with real estate availability and significant cost increases that would go along with working to acquire that real estate. And Nick can speak to this later in the presentation when we get to the real estate slides. So after considering those alternatives, we came up with our tentatively selected plan of full dam removal down to bedrock. This would consist of demolition, incremental demolition, and it would also consist of staged dewatering. So we would remove the stop logs over a 12-week period, which would allow the water to slowly recede and some native plants or to establish along the banks as that drawdown is occurring. And it would also result in less sediment being washed downstream all at once. We'd also remove the concrete structure and dispose of it appropriately. Finally, we'd have some best management practices. We could use temporary erosion control using native cover crop on the exposed banks to further reduce sedimentation and runoff. And then we have a stormwater pollution prevention plan as well. This is just a conceptual computer generated photo of what the post condition could look like after the dam's removed. We acknowledge it's not perfect, but it gives an idea of what it might look like. So what are the benefits of dam removal? So the benefits are the ecosystem restoration, the improved fish passage, water quality improvements, reduced flood risk in that upstream impounded area, long-term cost savings to the county, and the reduction of that life safety risk. So this slide here shows normal water levels with and without the project, and then same thing, the flood water. So on the left, you see the normal water levels. The lighter blue is what the current water levels look like with the dam in place, and the darker blue represent what we could expect the channel to look like at normal water levels after the dam is removed. Again, it's not perfect. It's just a modeled design there. So there may be some small errors, but it gives an idea. And then same for the right-hand side, except for the colors are actually flip-flop there. So we see in light blue the existing, and then the existing is dark blue, and then the proposed would be the light blue 100-year floodplain. So that 1% flood event. So we do have some known concerns. One of them is invasive species. So there's a risk of invasive species moving upstream into the upstream portions of the Root River and its tributaries. One of those concerns is the sea lamprey. So there is potential sea lamprey habitat downstream of Horlick Dam. However, there's no records of the sea lamprey in the Root River over the past 100 years downstream of Horlick Dam. The Fish and Wildlife Service conducted sea lamprey potential habitat surveys and concluded that there was a low risk of invasion after dam removal in the upstream areas. We've coordinated with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the DNR regarding the risk, and we've decided that we would monitor the upstream areas and continue to look for the sea lamprey. And there's a contingency plan that if the sea lamprey is found to be present upstream, or if we're seeing it moving upstream, the Root River Steelhead facility has a weir that's movable and could serve as a barrier to restrict movement of the lamprey until a more long-term solution is found. The other invasive species concern is the round goby. So there's records of the round goby in Lake Michigan near the mouth of the Root River, but there's no hard records of the round goby in the Root River below Horlick Dam. There's some anecdotal records that we've heard from the public. But regardless, the round goby is a prey species and mostly just gets eaten by the species that are the native species present in the river. And in other rivers where we've seen the round goby, the Milwaukee and Menominee rivers, the impact of the round goby has been minor and low, not of a major concern. I'm going to move it over to Nick here to discuss real estate. Nick, are you available?
Yep, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
All right, so for this project, we're looking for the actual removal of the dam itself as far as the demolition of the dam. It's going to be about 1.4 acres, and that's the dam footprint, and then it's going to be temporary work area easement in the park the county owns there. So on this project, or any core ecosystem project, any ecosystem measure we're doing that we're counting for an ecosystem benefit needs to be held in fee simple. We're trying to protect our federal investment. In this case, we've got a lot of flexibility. So the dam itself has to be owned in fee simple. The county already owns it. And then basically what that's saying is from that point on, the county can't put, no one can build a dam in that footprint of the dam. The county has to continue to hold it. And then in addition to that 1.4 acres for the construction activities, we're looking at approximately 36.2 acres of temporary work area easements. And those are going to be, I believe it's about 60% of the area is public. And then we got some private landowners as well. We're looking at about 41 residential parcels, including some condo buildings. So about 56 homeowners would be affected. And these are going to be the areas between the existing high water mark as it is now. And these yellow areas you're seeing on the map are going to be, basically the difference between the existing high water mark and the new high water mark. And so when those areas are exposed, these temporary work area easements allow us to come in and implement those best management practices that Ryan talked about, as far as native cover crops, or if there was some sort of hazard left behind that we need to remove. It kind of gives us some flexibility there. Ryan, if you have a next slide here. So on this project, and if you looked at core projects before, it looks a little different. We shaped our real estate based on the project needs and what we were trying to achieve. And then we also used our real estate restrictions to pick our overall plan. So as Ryan said, we screened out the option to do really intensive ecosystem measures on all of this exposed land, all this newly created land. And the main reason we did that was, one, the cost. Early on in the process, we were looking at that option, and the county, just between the actual cost of the project features as well as the real estate, it was going to significantly increase the cost for what we believe would be a little return on investment versus just removing the dam. And then the other issue that presents is if we were to acquire all those areas in fee simple, basically between the old high or current high water mark and the new high water mark, if the county acquired those in fee simple, all those riparian owners would effectively be severed from the river, severed from riparian ownership. They lose their riparian rights. And we just, didn't want to do that to people. We wanted to have the flexibility where, everyone that is a riparian owner will remain a riparian owner. And then the county's still able to implement other measures, or, another partner group could come in and implement other measures, as they see fit. So how this project's designed, there's not going to be any restrictions on public or private property as a result of this project. Those temporary work area easements, we currently have them aiming for 3 years to allow us, as things pop up, allow our contractor to come in if something arises and we need to be able to get in there. But, other than just some regular, if there's a equipment operating or some sort of work going on, we may have a temporary fencing. But we're not actively doing work. Those areas are open. Landowners can go on them. The public can go on the public land. We're not going to restrict their use. And once those easements expire, it's as though they never existed. And then a question we get a lot on these projects, especially dam removal, is how are property values affected by this? We've looked at a lot of studies. We've looked at studies. We've done some market analysis on other projects, and we've done a little, light market analysis here. And what we've found is that these kind of dam removals, or even, really any type of ecosystem restoration, we don't see a negative effect on property values. It's generally neutral. They might go up depending on kind of the community as a whole. But we're expecting little to no change in property values. The big drivers of property value are going to be things like the home characteristic, the dwelling age, the size of the dwelling, school districts, overall, job market economy. Those are going to be the major drivers of property value. We do see, if we look at a riverfront property versus a non-riverfront property, you're going to see it, for a comparable property, you'll probably see a little bit of added value. If you were to go out right now and look at that riverfront property, but we're seeing that same value even when you go way up the river, away from this impoundment. So we don't believe that changing it from an impoundment to a riverine area is going to have much effect on property values. And as far as property taxes go, those are going to be tied to the property value. So, the county tax assessor is going to be the best person to answer the nitty-gritty on those.
Thanks, Nick. I'll take it from here and finish up with our implementation schedule. So we're hoping to have the feasibility report approved. It's been approved. We're just waiting on formal signatures now, and hope to have that possibly by the end of this week. And then we would move to execute a project engineering design agreement in May, with a project partnership agreement in January of 2025. We'd anticipate final construction plans and specifications to be ready in May of 2025. And then we would push for that construction contract award by July of 2025. It's a 3-year construction period. So it would end in roughly fall of 2028. And then there would be a 3-year post-construction monitoring period ending in fall of 2031. Of course, all these are tentative on approvals and just getting the agreement signed and things like that. But this is the tentative schedule. So with that, I'll conclude my slide and we can take any questions if that's what's next.
Are there any questions? Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you, Chairman. Ryan, this is directed to you. You indicated there are some concerns about invasive species. I'm wondering who monitors that and how often that is monitored in regards to the invasive species?
Yeah, that's a good question. So we would have a 3-year monitoring period. I would have to look back to get you an exact answer, and I can write these down and send them in an email after this of the exact periodicity of the monitoring. But yeah, the Corps would have a 3-year monitoring period after construction. And then after that, I believe the state regularly monitors the river for fish. And I could check with them to see what the periodicity of their monitoring efforts are. Nick, I think you might have talked about this a little bit in our meeting on the 14th. So if you have anything else to add, please go for it.
Yeah, the only thing I've got is that for those temporary work area easements, we'll have them in place for 3 years. So, once those are obtained, basically we won't need to obtain new real estate to go in, and if monitoring activities or, any sort of maintenance activity need to be done, we'd be able to do it under those existing easements.
Great. Should that come about, I do have a concern that is acted on within a reasonable period of time, not only for the river itself, but for the property owners in front of where invasive species may be detected. I also want to make sure that should one of the property owners indicate that there is a potential of invasive species within their property, that is acted on quickly. You could note that, please. Thank you.
Supervisor Spencer.
Hi, Ryan and Nick. My question is on monitoring as well. I'd like to know what exactly like your monitoring procedures are for those 3 years. And then you say the state picks it up, but I'm concerned about invasive plants as well as the possibility of the lamprey and the gobies. Are you also monitoring invasive plants? Are you monitoring the shift of the mud and sediment? Are you monitoring, well, my next question is going to be about bedrock. So go ahead with the first. Thank you.
Yeah, Supervisor Spencer, thanks for the questions. Yeah, so I think there's a couple points here to talk about. One is the invasive plant species, and unfortunately, we aren't able to do what we call them establishment activities. So when we do a native planting for a core project, we have follow-up establishment activities. It's where we go through and we make sure that all the seeds germinated and the plants are growing. And if they're not, we can go in and do some reseeding. And then we do what you're talking about here, one of the important things, and that's controlling the invasive species to make sure that the native species take hold. Now, I think there's a couple points here, and one of them is just that a lot of the areas where I think you may be referring to are private property, and so we can't, in good faith, spend taxpayer dollars doing these establishment activities for native species, because we don't know of the continued value and benefit to the federal taxpayer, because these are on private property and may not continue to be native plantings after this. They could be converted to turf grass, or the landowner could construct a building on that area, or any of those things. So I, while I realize it's a shortcoming, we don't have the ability to control invasive species on private property. It's just not within the scope of the project or the work that we do. But to your second point, monitoring the sediment, that's certainly something that we'll be doing during that 3-year monitoring period, watching for erosion and watching for concerns with that sediment. And we have multiple adaptive management measures built into our feasibility study, and then obviously following through into the contract that we would look to award. And that would allow us at any point in that 3-year construction period to go in and fix any issues that we're seeing in terms of sedimentation or erosion. And then finally, one of the monitoring components that we would continue to do through that 3-year follow-up monitoring period is just monitoring, taking cross sections of the river upstream of the dam to make sure that it's not eroding down too far. And unfortunately, I don't have our geotechnical engineer or our hydrologist on the call tonight, but if there's follow-up questions to that, I'd be happy to take it back to them and then follow up with this group.
Hey, Ryan, and hi, everybody. This is Alex Hoxie, also from the Corps. I would also just add that that's sort of a feature of this project and not a bug. And Nick touched on it a little bit. But for Corps of Engineers ecosystem restoration studies, we require our non-federal sponsors to own all project lands in fee simple in order to implement that project. So there was a strategic decision made not to include the native planting and the establishment activities that Ryan's talking about, precisely because it would require the county to, acquire land that is currently held by private landowners, which, for obvious reasons would be challenging, controversial, etc. So really, I think the benefit here is that we think, in an opt-in way, we can provide some seeding in those drawdown areas after the dam comes out. But then really, it's new usable land for those existing landowners, rather than part of the federal project that needs to be cost shared and owned by the non-federal sponsor, in this case, the County of Racine. Otherwise, I'm totally on board.
So that goes a little bit against what we learned on the 14th. There was going to be a seed and a reseed and I believe another if needed. So Alex is saying that that's not the case.
What I'm saying is that we can do a cover seeding. It's the best management practice during construction for those areas that are drawn down, assuming private landowners are willing to grant us those those entry easements. But what Ryan's talking about, and for our for other ecosystem restoration projects we do, where we're like peeling a bank back, installing native trees, shrubs, forbs, we would go back for a period of years to make sure that they've established and there's success criteria in a formal construction contract. So it's a slightly different mechanism with less oversight from us, which we think strategically is the most palatable or best approach for this setting. So really, our project footprint is just the footprint of the dam essentially, and then some work easement areas, which Nick talked about.
Okay, I understand that. Thank you.
Mhm.
So my next question is on the bedrock. First of all, you're going to remove a lot of concrete. That is what the structure of the dam is now. But the bedrock structure that is currently there and whatever the impoundment reveals, will that be, or the loss of water in the impoundment, let's put it that way, will that bedrock be able to be moved in a more like a better way to improve the flow of the river, or is it just left because that's the natural state that's finally uncovered after 100 years?
Yeah, I can take this. This is Ryan. So we wouldn't move any of the bedrock. We'd remove the dam down to the bedrock, and then that'd be the natural state of the river. And we'd leave it as that, however it flows over that. I don't think anyone knows exactly what that's going to look like. We'd obviously make sure that fish are able to pass. So if something happened where it was looking like fish aren't able to get over the obstacle of the bedrock following dam removal, then we would certainly most likely employ one of those adaptive management options to make sure that there's connectivity in the water there to make sure fish can pass through. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, sort of. So there's no like, DNR law, let's say, that, like if you disrupt the naturalness of the river and you move things around, because my understanding in rivers is like you're not supposed to mess with the shoreline. You're not supposed to, other than putting out a pier, you're not supposed to like recreate your shoreline too. So that's why I'm asking about the bedrock. If it's super, super muddy or problematic to the homeowners, um, will they be able to get out there and move things around? Bedrock wise, like, because there's a lot of homes along the impoundment, and I understand what Alex said about, like, we're doing the dam. So maybe this is a question more for, Robert Pike Win or something, but, I'm concerned about what is going to be exposed when the impoundment decreases and goes away.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now. I thought you were talking about the actual bedrock that's underneath the dam structure, but you're talking more about like the newly exposed shoreline areas. Is
I'm
that
talking
what
more
you're talking
upriver
about?
than downriver. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so those newly exposed areas, that's where we would do that native cover crop seeding. And again, that's also that's where Nick and Alex are both talking that this is that would be their private property and they'd be free to alter it as they wish. So if that's planting turf grass or further going in and maintaining that native seeding, what we would expect it to look like is that more fine-grained sediment that's been sequestered behind the dam, but it would quickly germinate with plant species and look green. It wouldn't continue to look like just a mud flat for perpetuity. It would definitely be green relatively quickly.
Okay. I heard another thing about, in the future, there would be no rebuilding of any kind of a structure there. The county owns that land. And in the future, let's say this didn't work out well or whatever, we'd need to, for whatever reason, have a new dam. Is that saying that that can never happen again?
Basically, when the real estate is entered or made available for a core project, we sign the PPA, the real estate's, the county's going to provide the real estate. Anything that's fee simple, in this case, it's just that dam footprint, is basically locked into that project in perpetuity, unless the county does have an option to, they wanted to exit the project. I believe they just have to pay back their entire cost share. On this project, the way that we've got it mapped out is if, worst case scenario, we need a dam again. Racine County needs a dam. They can have two options. The first is going to be to apply for a Section 408 permit to modify the core project. So we could say, there's some unintended effect, massive effect they can apply. Whether that's granted or not is up to a few factors, but they would still retain the option to, just in theory, you could build a dam upstream or downstream of that, the existing footprint. From a legal perspective, that's possible. I don't know from an engineering perspective, but we're just saying that footprint of the dam, for our purpose of the project, we're counting that for the ecosystem benefit, the removal action. So that footprint needs to be held in fee simple. Everything upstream, the homeowners are already going to, or the landowners already own to the thread of the stream from, their side of the river. So anything newly exposed is going to belong to the, or already belongs to the existing landowner. But as that land becomes exposed, it's just no longer subject to the public's easement for navigation.
Okay, thanks.
Any more
Yep.
questions? Does anybody else have any questions? Supervisor Dembski.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question, Ryan, whoever wishes to answer. Uh, So if this were to pass, the construction period is 3 years. I'm, I guess my question is, how active is that construction period over those 3 years? What is the ebb and flow of that construction activity?
Yeah, so we'd expect at first that slow drawdown to occur where we're removing a one stop log at a time. So you really wouldn't see much activity. It would just be someone out there periodically, I think once every week or once every 2 weeks to remove a stop log, and you'd slowly see that drawdown. We may be out there doing that BMP cover crop seeding at that time. You know, each time we pull out a stop log, you expect the water to come down a little bit, expose a little bit more shoreline. We'd go out and do some of that native cover crop seeding. So, you know, relatively minor impact at that time. But then once the drawdown is complete and we're ready to remove the dam, you'd see mobilization of the contractor. And I would expect, I don't know the exact amount of time. We don't usually dictate means and methods for the contractor, but over the course of, you know, say a month or so, you'd expect there to be a lot of equipment on site and in the staging area, several folks working there while the dam's removed. You'd expect trucks, dump trucks coming in and out, hauling away debris. The site would be pretty busy at that time. But once the removal is done, you know, it's a relatively simple project. So once the removal is done, then we'd just be coming back more for that monitoring for that 3 year period. So I think you'd expect most of the activity to occur over the course of, you know, a month or two.
Thank you.
Oh, go ahead, Michael.
You hear me?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to point out two things for the benefit of the members in the audience. First, Craig Helker from the Wisconsin DNR. It's my understanding that he is in attendance. Craig, I believe, was at the last meeting, the public hearing, and he is available to address questions. His expertise is in the freshwater biology area. And then the second thing that I wanted to highlight for the committee, because I know this came up at the public hearing and Supervisor Spencer's first question, I think, touched upon this, and Alex and Nick from the Corps did a nice job of explaining why the nature of this is really a feature versus a detriment to the project in those homeowners retaining ownership of that land versus the county acquiring a portion of the land that abuts the water. Obviously, there would be costs attendant with that, and also that would be controversial in and of itself. And Alex and or Nick touched on that briefly, but just to explain what that means, it would be akin to an eminent domain process where, similar to a highway project, where the county would essentially purchase at the appraised value that land that would be having that water access. And of course, the benefit to that is that the county could better ensure that it's those invasives are addressed, that the seeding continues in perpetuity as needed, or any other needs are addressed. But the downside of that obviously is not only the cost to the county and to county taxpayers, but that those homeowners lose their waterfront access. They would no longer have property that is abutting the water. Rather, the county would own that. And so in terms of property value implications, I don't have studies to draw upon, but it's easy to assume that should a property lose its access to the waterfront, that there would be a negative property value impact to that. So just wanted to clarify something that the Corps has alluded to a few times, and why that's, again, a feature of the way that this could proceed versus a detriment. Thank you.
I do have a question. On the restoration, now, you're not planting trees or shrubs, and I understand that. That would be more of a grasses, natural native grasses. And then the stabilization, of the soil. So do you know what type of mix they would use on that stabilization and how long it would take to germinate? And how long would it take before the dewatering process of the land got dewatered so you could do the plantings?
Yeah, I'll take that. That's a great question. So we're still in the feasibility phase now, which we kind of equate to less than the 30% design. But to your point, there's a lot of different native species we could use, and we'd work with our biologists to refine the exact mix. I'd be more than happy to send an example mix of something that we would use in a floodplain riparian type setting here. But it would consist of a number of different native forb or flower species, and then a number of native grass and sedge species. So it would be a relatively diverse mix of native species. Talking to the point of germination, a lot of those species are adapted to wet and riparian type conditions. So we would try to get that seed out just as the water is receding. So there'd be good seed soil contact and hopefully relatively quick germination. Germination would vary depending on each individual species in the mix, but you could expect some species to germinate within a week or two, and then others may sit sequestered, until the next opportune time for them to germinate would be. But in general, you could expect some species, and they would be selected for this attribute to germinate relatively quickly and become established, and hold that soil in place, and then provide that aesthetic of having green native plants.
Because my concern is, I believe if I was reading the topographical area of the sewer pack, there will be a really steep portion on the eastern shoreline. And my concern is the erosion control with plantings. So
Yeah,
if you could, go ahead.
Nope, that's a great concern. And if that's within the project footprint immediately adjacent to where the dam is, I'm assuming we could do other BMPs as well, whether it's erosion control blanket or hydro seeding, straw mulching, whatever's required to hold that in place. But we certainly don't want sediment washing down into the river and erosion and gullies forming either. So that would certainly be monitored, and we'd ensure that that's not happening on site.
So if it's on private property, would that also happen? Or would it just be on the public owned land?
Yeah, that's a good question. Alex, do you know, or Nick, from a real estate perspective, do you know how that would work?
Yeah, I hate
Yes.
to throw Nick under the bus, but it's more of a real estate question. So I think for that, we'd need something like a temporary work easement, which would be opt-in by private landowners. That would allow us to do, that seeding, maybe, I'm assuming there's, some amount of trash that was in the bottom of the river that might become exposed. So we might be able to do some of those best management construction site cleanup work. But I believe we at least need like a temporary work easement for rights of entry or something like that. So, Nick, hopefully I've filibustered long enough for you to think about a response.
Yeah, so we're already planning on getting those temporary work area easements. They're, effectively everywhere from where the river is now to where the river will be. We're planning on getting those. We're expecting there's probably bedrock in some areas. And under those temporary work area easements, they're already part of the plan. And we may expand those slightly in design as we kind of get a little finer detail information on what to expect. But yeah, we can do that temporary cover planting. We can do erosion control blankets. We can do, pretty much any site management, best management practice. The same kind of measures you take at any other construction site. We can implement those. It will be, if a landowner doesn't grant us those easements or doesn't grant the county those easements in this case, we're unable to send our contractor on without that temporary easement. But if we, if the landowner grants that temporary easement and they will be compensated appropriately for the fair market value of that easement, then our contractor can go on. There'll be no cost to them for us to implement those best management practices as the water comes down.
Okay, so if you could send the seed mix out before the next meeting. Thank you. Go ahead, Supervisor Spencer.
Thank you. Could you explain to me what a head cut is? The wording on page 35 is a head cut that's expected to develop a reach. I'm not a,
Yeah, so I don't have that page in front of me, but a head cut generally refers to an area where the bottom of the channel starts to erode away, and you'd see basically like a small waterfall or just an area where the water's flowing over that. So where that more highly erodible channel bottom is slowly washing away on the downstream end, the water washes over it, and then what tends to happen is the head cut will move in an upstream direction. So as you can think of it as kind of like a face of a cliff, although I don't want to dramatize it, but the face of a cliff to slowly erode away and back up upstream as the water flows over it. So a head cut or a nick point is another name for it. Yeah.
and then for myself and those listening, what's a reach?
Well, generally a reach would be any section of a river that you're referring to. So you could refer to a reach of the river.
Okay.
Does that clarify? I don't have that page open, so I'm not exactly sure what you're
Yeah,
referring to.
reach isn't really a technical term. It's just like, sometimes we'll break our project up in discrete reaches, like river mile 1 to 5, and then river mile 5 to 10. But I don't have it in front of me either, but I'm pretty sure in the document we just describe it as, that upstream reach. So like the next segment of the stream upstream, basically.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I just have a couple more. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So jumping back to like one of your first or second slides, you said that this project allowed 10 million. And you figured it would come in at like 2.7 or something like that. I don't remember the numbers. So what you were stating to Supervisor Kramer or Chairman Kramer, you mentioned you can do this, you can do this. I'm wondering if you will, given that allotted 10 million on the project.
Yeah,
You
Ryan, I
understand?
think I can help with that one. So, well, I think what Ryan was referring to is that under many of our, routine authority, so the Corps needs an authority and appropriation to do any project. And then in most of our projects, we also need a cost sharing partner. What Ryan was talking about is under the authority, so that section 506 of what we call GLIF, or the Great Lakes Fishery and Ecosystem Restoration Authority, projects, we can participate in projects, from $0 up to $10 million of federal cost share. So at the 65-35, that's, a $15 million project. This project is just much smaller than that. And so I'm trying to think of a good example, but, we have other projects that we're restoring 500 acres of wetland and prairie. That's closer to the 15 million side of things than the $2.5 million side of things. So I think that's just the authority has a cap for federal participation, which in some projects is a consideration. In this one, it's not, because we're so far below that cap, at least from the Corps' perspective.
But there is flexibility for those things that need to get done in that 3 year of monitoring. You will be able to.
Yeah, so I think
Do
there's flexibility in our monitoring and adaptive management plan, which I think Ryan talked about earlier. But at this point, we have a recommended plan and an approved path forward. So I wouldn't expect any big changes to the actual plan we're recommending. But in terms of those best management practices and dealing with the realities of life in the environment where we're doing a construction project, those things are still on the table for sure.
Okay. This could be my last question.
All right.
So I just want to share with you, because I've spent a lot of time in people's yards who live on the river, looking at their banks, looking at their Japanese knotweed, looking at their, they're talking about their fishing, finding out, like, yes, they love to catch the fish. They don't necessarily want to eat the fish because of the water quality. Standing on people's decks, this is like walking through the mud in River Bend yesterday. I'm doing some homework. So the biggest concern really, I think, is the loss of recreation for children. And we know that the river will have a steady, well, it won't have a steady current because it's still going to be low in low points like the summertime and things like that. But overall, it's going to have a current that flows downstream to Lake Michigan. They're losing their impoundment, so they're losing their flat water where people can go upriver, downriver, just sit and float. And I just want to share that one of the huge concerns is that you have to be a little bit more of an experienced canoer or kayaker because children won't necessarily be as safe playing on the river. So that's a big concern of my constituents. And this, by the way, is in my district, the 5th district. Second big concern is the invasive species. I talked about the knotweed. It's huge. The owners are concerned about that. It's a lot of work to keep that back. And then we talked a lot here tonight about the future maintenance of the riverbank, the width of the river. We talked about that on the 14th. But I'm sharing concerns. And then the wildlife. I think that to me, if the fish improve, they're healthier, the water quality improves, the fish improve, then the birds and the birds of prey and I don't feel like the wildlife is going to really go anywhere. I saw 3 deer when I was in River Bend yesterday. I don't want to go on a tangent, but I used to deliver mail on that side of the river, and I loved seeing the turtles and the fox, and I would see all kinds of things, and it really helped get me through a pretty boring day. So just spewing, I guess. I want to share those concerns of my constituents.
Yeah, Supervisor, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think you bring up a lot of really great points, and they're super important for us to hear these and acknowledge these. And so, starting with the recreation, we definitely acknowledge that there will be a shift in recreation types out on the impoundment. So, as you mentioned, it won't provide that super flat, slow moving water where beginning paddlers might want to take their first paddle. So the water may be a little more swift moving and slightly more difficult to navigate. So we certainly acknowledge that. But I think, this project allows for a lot of other really valuable recreation types, especially for children. And, I can think of a few nature centers in Illinois down by me where they actually have boardwalks that go through riparian areas that allow, kids, but not only kids, but adults and anybody who wants to get out there and really experience these natural areas. So, even though some of these areas that are going to be newly exposed when the water draws down, if the nature center manages them to be high quality natural areas, it can be a really awesome natural classroom for children, especially if there's some way for them to access that, whether that's through boardwalks or other means. But just really great opportunities for children to continue to go to the nature center and learn and experience the natural community. I know the impoundment in the river now feels like a great nature experience for kids, but it's an altered system that humans have altered. And so there's a lot of great learning opportunities and science opportunities for children to get out and experience the natural system after the project is done. And I'd be happy to point to other examples where that's been done. Moving on to the invasives, we certainly acknowledge, we've talked about it a bunch today now, that invasive species are a problem now along the river, and they're likely to continue to be a problem on private property. And from the core perspective, I'd be happy to point those private landowners to some resources that they might look into, whether that's how they might be able to manage invasives on their own, or different options that they might have to manage invasive species, and really to make their their property, the way they want it. But if they're going for a native ecosystem, there's certainly opportunities out there for them to do so. And then last but not least, you talked about wildlife, and I think you hit the nail on the head that we're improving the riverine ecosystem, and the river is, the lifeblood of the ecosystem. So we have adjacent terrestrial areas and wetlands areas, but those are tied to the river. And when you have a more natural riverine ecosystem, it provides food and hunting opportunities and other life history opportunities for those native species to continue to thrive. And so, if anything, I would expect mostly beneficial effects to wildlife.
Thank you. I lied, I have one more.
Okay, one more.
Apologies, everybody. So some of my constituents have asked me to table this vote, to try and get this vote tabled. And I want to hear, like, on the record from the Army Corps, what's at stake if we table this vote.
Alex, are you able to speak to that?
Yeah, if you want me to go, I'll go on that. So at the end of the day, the Army Corps can't implement a project that requires a non-federal cost share without a non-federal cost share partner. So Ryan described that we're at the end of our feasibility study process now. We have an approval from our higher headquarters for our recommended plan, which is the full dam removal. The next steps for us, imminently the next steps for us are to get that signed and send it off to you all and put it up on our public facing website. I think from our perspective, the risk of tabling it is that we get out of line for federal funding to move forward to the next phase. So we're wrapping up feasibility. The next phase on a GLIFR project like this one is design and implementation. So we need to, to get the 65% of the project cost for design and implementation, we need to get those federal funds and request those as well, which we've done. So if there's, a short delay or tabling, I think we don't necessarily lose our spot in line, although nothing's a given at this point. But really the risk is that if you have a project that's moving along and then, goes into a pause, or it has a non-federal sponsor that's not ready to move forward, we sort of step out of line for that federal funding. It's seen as less of a sure thing for getting to an implemented project. I think that's the biggest risk from our side. We, the Corps, can't speak to the risk that the county or whoever faces in regards to your clock you have with Wisconsin DNR for the passing the 100-year flood events. I guess if I could just sum that up, we have a final report now. Worst case scenario, if the county isn't ready to participate as a sponsor, it would go on the shelf. It doesn't go away or die, or you lose it for good. But to reinitiate at a later point would potentially require us to do some more investigation if conditions in the area were to change, or again just put us behind the 8 ball for requesting the federal dollars. So I think really the decision is we won't do anything without you.
Michael, you want to weigh in here?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think Alex did a nice job of addressing what the potential implications could be of tabling if tabling equates to just a slight delay. In other words, if there were a slight delay and ultimately the county authorized the adoption of the core recommendations and the removal of the Horlick Dam, then Alex touched upon, the likelihood that depending on the length of that delay of whether that funding would still be in place and available to the county. If alternatively, tabling meant delaying and then considering anew one of the alternatives to full removal of Horlick Dam, alternatives that have been studied and vetted by the Army Corps, that have been studied by Sewer PAC over the many years, and that are contrary to what the ultimate recommendations are of the Corps, of Sewer PAC, of DNR, if ultimately the county opted to consider and pursue and authorize one of those alternatives, the implications are much more far-reaching in that the likelihood is that we would not have the benefit of any core funding, federal funding to go towards those alternatives. We've heard that those alternatives would likely be more expensive, that the alternatives run the risk that they would not address those compliance issues that led to the DNR finding in the first instance. Some people suggested, well, could we just lower the dam a little bit? And what I heard from Andrea at the DNR at that public hearing was that simply lowering the dam would not address those compliance issues. And so there is the cost impact, and that it would be considerably higher without the benefit and the availability of federal funding to pursue any of those alternatives, if that ultimately is the implication of tabling or delaying this any further. But also it's much more expensive, and we lose that partner in the Corps that's willing to take on 65% of this, and potentially other funds that may be available through grant opportunities, through the DNR, through Root Pike Wind. So those implications could be much more far-reaching if a simple delay turns into considering anew the other options that have been exhaustively considered over the many years by those various entities that I just cited. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Any further questions? Supervisor Malakara.
I was wondering if River Bend made a statement on this issue. We've heard the community members bring up River Bend, Supervisor Spencer's bring up River Bend. And when I was at the other initial hearing, there wasn't anybody from River Bend that spoke about how this can affect them, if it's going to affect them in a negative way or a positive way. That would be my question. I would like to hear from them. How do they feel about this?
Public Works?
Director Bean, did you have any comment from River Bend? I know we own River Bend as a county.
Yeah, right now Riverbend has been staying neutral on it. They haven't said anything to me. They haven't reached out to me. And I can't speak for them.
So I did make a phone call to speak with the director of River Bend, and she wishes to remain neutral. Their programming will still be fun. It will still be nature. The kids will be out in nature. It's an amazing park, and they will have less water activity. But she would, as that's mostly me walking around yesterday. She wants to remain neutral.
Any further questions? Supervisor Dembski?
Thank you, Chair. I would just suggest that saying they will have less water activity might be projection at this point, just as a point of clarification.
Any further comments, questions? What's your pleasure? Public Works. Go ahead, Mr.
Since you're looking at me, I'm substitute in this committee. I'd rather a standing committee member make any kind of motion, okay?
Supervisor Malakara.
Motion to approve the plan that has been presented to us from the Army Corps to take down the dam.
Okay. Supervisor Hopkins?
I don't even know who's the committee members.
Just
Jessica, who else is on it? Eric,
yourself and myself.
Erica, I'll second it if I don't want to take your thunder or whatever. I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded to move the resolution from the Public Works portion for first reading tonight. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Chairman Trotter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As the chairman of the Finance Committee, I'm requesting authorization to accept the adoption of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Integrated Feasibility Report and Environmental Assessment of the Horlick Dam and its recommendation to proceed with the removal of the Horlick Dam. I'm looking for a motion to approve that.
Chair, I move to approve the resolution.
We have a first and a second to take the recommendation of the Army Corps of Engineers to proceed with the removal of the dam for a first reading this evening on March 26, 2024. Any additional discussion on our Finance Committee? Hearing none. Youth and Governance, all in favor? Committee, all in favor? Are there any nays? Hearing no nays, we will move this forward for first reading this evening, March 26, 2024. Thank you.
An adjournment for Public Works is in order.
I'll motion to adjourn the meeting for Public Works.
Motion is adjourned.
Motion to adjourn Finance and Human Resource. I have a first and a second. Finance and Human Resource Committee is adjourned. Thank you.
Tuesday, March 26th, 2024, order at 6:30. John, we're all set to go, right? Recording and streaming. Customarily, how we begin these meetings is with a prayer and pledge, and we're always led by a supervisor. And tonight we have the Honorable Supervisor Scott Meyer. Supervisor Meyer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussion, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of our community. Fill us with your grace, O Lord, as we make these decisions that may affect the residents of our county, and continue to remind us that all we do here today and all we accomplish is for your greater glory to you and for the service of humanity. We ask these things in your name. Amen. And the pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll ask the clerk to please note the roll.
Supervisors Ekman and Grove are excused, and we have a couple that are on their way. Everyone else is in the chambers.
Okay, great. Supervisor Miller, help us with next agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This evening, we have a sympathy resolution, and it is for a recent county board supervisor, the predecessor of Supervisor Ekman, Supervisor Catherine Busky Tracer, a wonderful, hardworking woman. I'd like to review with the board our protocol for these. I will ask that we are able to consider the resolution. Then there will be a motion. The board will vote. Then the clerk will read the entire resolution. And at the very end of that, the chair will signal us to rise in a moment of silence. So, Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent that we are allowed to take up resolution 2024-97 at this time.
Okay, we have unanimous consent.
Thank you.
Supervisor.
And I would therefore move that we adopt resolution 2024-97.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. It's a voice majority vote. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. There aren't any nays.
Okay, I will note that we have to correct our first page. This is actually resolution number 2023-97 by individual supervisors expressing sympathy to the family of former County Board Supervisor Catherine Busky Tracer. To the honorable members of the Racine County Board of Supervisors, whereas Catherine Busky Tracer became a member of the Racine County Board of Supervisors in April of 2006 and served until April of 2020, representing the 11th and 14th districts. And whereas during her tenure on the county board, she served as chairman and vice chairman of the Public Works, Parks, and Facilities Committee, vice chairman of the Government Services Committee, vice chairman of the Health and Human Development Committee, and secretary of the Public Protection and Justice System Committee. She also served on the Intergovernmental Relations Committee, the Executive Committee, and the Racine Heritage Museum. And whereas during her tenure as county board supervisor, she gained the respect of her colleagues, department heads, and constituents, and whereas Catherine Busky Tracer passed away on March 9th, 2024, now therefore be it resolved that the Racine County Board of Supervisors stand and pause for a moment of silence in memory of Catherine Busky Tracer, and be it further resolved that the county clerk send a copy of this resolution to the family of Catherine Busky Tracer, along with the sincere sympathy of the Racine County Board of Supervisors.
Please stand, everyone. Okay, thank you. since I'm chairman, I'm going to make an editorial comment. When I first got on the board, Catherine sat right in front of me and she turned around and made me feel welcomed. And my short comment is, if you didn't get to know Catherine, you missed a wonderful human being. So that's my comment. So next, we go to, I call on Vice Chairman Kramer for a resolution.
Resolution
96.
96. So we were at the, for first reading, first and it's the the governmental agreement with Fourth Amendment between the Village of Mount Pleasant, ourselves, and Foxconn. And Debbie Tomczak and Dave, they're here to walk us through it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, supervisors. As was indicated when you consider this for the first reading at your last meeting, this really is a cleanup item. It actually came out of the Foxconn project, but is not there's no Foxconn component to it. It's a Fourth Amendment to a cooperation agreement between the Village of Mount Pleasant and Racine County. We did start that cooperation agreement back in 2017, triggered by the Foxconn development. But there have been 3 amendments that have been adopted already. And the amendment that's before you today is in connection with the Microsoft closing that happened in December. We said at that time, we had a 3rd amendment that you approved at that time. And this has to do with what happens with the sales proceeds. There were excess sales proceeds, extra cash. That $27 million has already been deposited by Mount Pleasant in a debt reserve. And this agreement commits the village to keep that debt reserve and to increase it by August 15th of 2025 to $30 million. It is another rainy day fund, so to speak. If there would be any reason why we would not, either the village or the county could not make a debt payment, even though I don't foresee that happening, it's an additional layer of security to make sure that we have ample way to be sure that we're securing our debt. And if you've been out to the Microsoft site and seen all of the development that's happening and the increment that's being generated already, we are on very good footing with what's happening there, with the acquisitions that have occurred and the increment that's being generated. But again, this is additional security for we and the village to make sure that all of our debt payments have multiple layers of security. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but it really is a cleanup item that came about after the Microsoft closing to deal with some of those excess sales proceeds. A really nice problem for us to have.
Vice Chairman Kramer,
Motion to approve?
moved and seconded. Now, officially, are there any questions for Debbie? Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You were mentioning about we have multiple layers of security.
Yes.
And you mentioned about the dollars. What's the other securities that you make?
So we have also a development agreement. We still have our development agreement that's in place with Foxconn that requires them to have $1.4 billion worth of accessible value in Area 1 or to make payments on that level. They made their first makeup payment this year at the increased level at that $1.4 billion worth of increment required. In addition to the Foxconn agreement that remains in place, there's now a Microsoft agreement that is in place that also requires them to have a second $1.4 billion worth of accessible value in areas 2 and 3, or to start making payments at that level in 2028. There is, under the Foxconn agreement, a requirement that out of Foxconn's increment, 3 years of debt service be put aside out of Foxconn's increment. So that's another rainy day fund that's already accumulating. This is in addition to that. So that's, I guess, your 4th layer of security. We've also taken, you may recall that in December, we defeased Area 2 and 3 bonds, and that was a debt just of the county that came directly out of Microsoft sales proceeds. So we've actually also reduced our debt that needs to be covered by all those levels of security.
Thank you.
Anyone? Supervisor Dembski.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for the presentation. Nothing on the content, no objection here. Just a point of clarification. I may have missed something at the beginning of this. Why are we taking this item out of order?
I'll answer that so
Thank-
that it was at the request of our corporation counsel, so our consultants
That's right.
get to depart.
Great.
in
I
the
assumed as
meeting.
much. Thank you.
So thank you.
You ask all the tough questions. Anyone else? Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So majority vote, voice vote. I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Next agenda item is our public comments. Pursuant to our own ordinances, each speaker shall be allotted a maximum of 3 minutes. There are some sheets in the back for a official request to address this body. I have none at this point, but if there's anyone in the gallery that wishes to address, please come forward. Anyone wishes to address this body? Seeing none, we're going to go forward. Our next agenda item is the presentation by the Zoo Director, Beth Heidorn, of the Racine Zoo. And Beth comes every year and enlightens us, and we all walk away thinking how lucky we are to have such a beautiful facility in Racine, Wisconsin. So.
Thank you, Chairman Roanhouse and Vice Chair Kramer and the rest of our wonderful county supervisors for allowing me the opportunity to come and talk to you today about the Racine Zoo. So like I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about 2023, kind of give you a taste of what happened last year. And we're going to start off with, let's see, is this going to work for me? Yes. We were accredited again for 5 years with the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, or AZA. We have been accredited since AZA started accrediting places in 1986. We have not lost that. And oh, by the way, last year we turned 100. So it was a little bit of a busy year for us, and you're going to see that as we go forward on how busy we were. We do have some great awards again this year. We were the best place to take kids in Racine County, best place to work under 49 employees, best nonprofit in Racine County, and a hometown favorite for best family fun. And please know that we are all southeastern Wisconsin. So we were number 7 in the top place to take kids in and around Milwaukee. We like to spread our wings a little bit here. Okay, so operations update is always where we start. Let's talk about some numbers. So right now we're at about 2472 member households. On average, there's 4 people per household, if we want to look at it that way, so you can see our family of memberships right here, which is a really great number for us. So last year we had 126,314 people come to the zoo. So you can see that in the lower part where our admissions was down a little bit, but I tell you, every event we had for our 100-year, it rained. So that number should have been higher, but you know, I love Mother Nature. I'm not going to say anything bad about Mother Nature. Our events were down a little bit because of the rain, and education was up because we really were very proactive on making sure we had kids come to the zoo and our zoo people went to the schools. So that was great. Just so you can see where where the numbers are from admissions to events, education, and total attendance, just so you can see the last couple of years, we are getting back on track. I mean, we had a great 2019 and we had a really great 2021 because everyone was over being at home. So we are on our way back on that positive trajectory and have been since we started this calendar year of 2024. And then just so you can kind of see where we're at with our admissions, adults is our greatest number. And then we have children is our next one. And our member, child and adult, you can see kids and under 2 and younger are always free at the zoo. So that's a great one. And we're about 4% military. So we get all those folks in. And then seniors is age 62 and older, just so you can see what those numbers are. Now, we also take everybody's zip code that is willing to give us a zip code. And so there you can see the numbers in there. It's a little bit harder for us, like say Caledonia, which is 53108, but also is 53402. We don't break it down other than by zip code. But this should give you a little bit of a knowledge of that. Milwaukee County's 10%, and Illinois 17. Illinois is huge for us, especially with school groups, because the teachers don't want to take the time to take the bus down to Lincoln Park, which is a free zoo, and I love that zoo, but it takes too long. The kids don't spend a lot of time at the zoo, and they got to get back on the bus and go back. So we are really in a good position for Illinois to come up here, and we take well advantage of that. And then you can see just the regular US, which is everything but Wisconsin and Illinois. So our Zootique, we want to talk a little bit about. Our revenue it's a really great revenue stream for us. These were some of our favorite sellers this year. Of course, our 100-year. Our animal art is up in the left. We've got a lot of animals that do that as part of their animal enrichment. So every animal paints, most every animal paints, and those are really big sellers for us. And then of course, jack-o'-lanternites. I have never bought and sold so many blinky swords and wands in my life as we have the last couple of years. So that will be another big hit for this upcoming year. And just so you can see, our guest attendance only increased by 1.2, but our gift shop revenue, 23.4%. So Krista Quista, who is our operations manager, is wonderful at this job, and that increased tremendously under her watch. And the same thing with the Jungle Girl. Take a look at that. Increased attendance 1.2, but the grill attendance increased by 21.6%. It is all about making sure we take care of our animals and our guests. I cannot furlough an animal. I've got to feed them every day. So these are why we do what we do here. You can just see a little bit about our grill. Animal care. Okay, who does not love our Emperor Tamarins? Is there anyone in the room? Absolutely not. I didn't think so. Okay, so they're one of my favorite animals. So just take a look at this. We have 279 invertebrates, 29 fish, 4 amphibians, 21 reptiles, 72 birds, and 81 mammals. And that is all taken care of by 14 full-time and 4 part-time specialists. We are open 7 days a week, and there is someone at the zoo all the time. So kudos and hats off to my fabulous staff. Now, we did say goodbye to a couple of our animals. Our adjutant stork actually went back to the Bronx Zoo. He needed to be with more of his own kind, and his female partner had died several years ago. So we were able to move Soka away. And then Debbie Lou, who had been one of the twins that we had born here a couple of years ago, went to make more of her own kind at Santa Ana Zoo out in California. Now, we do miss some of our animals that we lost this past year. Most Naka, our Amur tiger, who passed away just shy of 19 years old, which is really, really old for a tiger. Our fennec fox passed away. And then if you saw in the press release earlier this year, our 2 meerkats passed away, old age and cancer. I mean, the best part about keeping our animals old is that they're here for everybody. The worst part is because they then start to get things that they might not have gotten out in the wild, like cancer and things like that, that we're able to track. But we also said hi to some fresh faces. So we did have tamarin babies that were born. We're still waiting to see whether those twins are girls or boys or one of each. We haven't been able to get our hands on them. They're very territorial for this particular batch. But as soon as we know, we'll let everybody know. And then we got Chang Bai, who is an amazing tiger. If you have not come out to the zoo to see this animal, that face is to die for. She's just beautiful. And then Thong in the lower left is our new sun bear, and they're the smallest of bear species. So he would be, we have 2 labs at home. He would be the size of our biggest lab. They are small bears. But if you guys ever want to see it as county supervisors, you let me know. I would be happy to show you Fawn back of house. The weather has not been cooperating yet. We need a little bit warmer weather. And then we also got some goats, some 4 Nubian goats for us too, for our farmyard. Now, we always talk about our notable birthdays. We talked about keeping animals alive for a really long time, which is a blessing for us. So Yule is the oldest white-handed gibbon in North America, and in fact is the oldest of all gibbon species in North America. He turned 57 years old last year, and their average lifespan is 30, and that is in the wild. So he is well outlived his counterparts. And then blue yellow is one of the 10 oldest African penguins in all of AZA accredited facilities, and she celebrated her 39th birthday last year. So now she can be 39 forever if that's the women in the room, if that's the number that we're going with. And that average lifespan is 15. And then two other notable births. Mac turned 18 last year. He's one of our Maasai giraffes. And Robin, who is the daughter of Yule, turned 44. We talk about our training successes every year because the more we can train the animals to be part of their own husbandry care, the better it is for them. We don't have to anesthetize them. They know the drill. They're easier to work with. So we were able to get voluntary blood draws from our Eastern Black rhinos. We were able to really work for our Canada Lynx for them to be able to target train, which is now the start of going to be their training for their health care as well. We were able to desensitize the scale for target training for Chang Bai, which had not happened at her previous place. So it's really great, especially as she is an older cat. We want to make sure that we are always able to do more hands-on, but not hands-on, if you can see what I'm talking about. And then we trained Malix, our Hartman's Mountain Zebra, who went to Houston. We had to train him to get in a trailer because he's going to go make more of his own kind. So good luck to Malix. We'll let you know if we have any babies. And then we just talk about our vet care because our animal care staff, I will put them up against any place I have ever worked in my whole life on how they work with our vet, or that works with our animal care staff. And this is a radiograph on top and then hoof trimming, because we've got to take care of, how many people get a pedicure every once in a while? You've got to take care of your feet. So do these guys. We just have our animal care staff as their pedicurists, if that's a word. It's going to be a word today. And then we will also do the voluntary hoof trims with our giraffes and our Hartman's Mountain Zebra, which is not normal necessarily in other places. We are really leaders in training our staff and our animals to work together. And then just talking about the preventative care, our vet is fabulous. You can see on the right-hand side with the lower right is Crystal, our primary primate keeper. She is working with one of the spider monkeys so that they put their arm out and we can do blood draws and things like that right there at the stop. And then, of course, our small vet center that is happening. We'll talk about a new one later on here. And then just so you can see that we do that, our orangutan puts his arm to get his blood pressure taken. How many have gone to put their blood pressure taken at the mall? Same kind of thing. That's comfortable for him. And that cage was built specifically for his blood pressure. And then we were also offered, we get a lot of research requests from around the world. And this is for the American Institute of Rhino Sciences, or AIRS, and they were doing, they're doing a worldwide review on animals, and we are part of that study. So when that paper gets published, the zoo will be recognized. All right, let's talk a little about conservation education. I'm going to try to talk faster. Sorry. So we are changing. So the definition of reach when we start talking about education is we are trying to be, as AZA has asked us to be more specific on reach. And reach is not just, oh, this is a box turtle, but hoping that people walk away with action items. I'm looking at you, Melissa, because that's really right up your alley on making sure whatever you talk about, they walk away with, especially an environmental action item. And that's what we want to do here. So when we go to this slide, we've changed this. So although we were well over 91,000 on just touches, the reach part is what we're starting to focus on because AZA has asked us to do so. So I will get you the full number, and then next year we will do the full number and then reach separately so that you can see both components that make up what education does. Okay, so we have summer camp, just so everybody knows. Last year we had 476 campers, and we do 9 weeks of summer camp. They get early drop off, late pickup, and they do more stuff around the zoo than I get to do. But I love the summer campers. They come to my office and take candy out of my jar and then ask me a question, and they think that's pretty cool. So I love it. I think it's great. Our on-campus programs, those are going to be field trips that come to us. Whether it's a school group, a senior center, all of those types of things, any on-campus program, as you can see, we increased 58.35% from the year before. We are being very proactive on making sure people can come out here, even if it's paid, but not maybe paid by them. We could have sponsors that take care of that. Our off-campus programs. So those are going to be nursing homes, birthday parties off-site, going to Halo or the shelters like that are going to be all part of that particular number. And again, people really want us to come out because they can't all come to the zoo. And I'm okay with that. As long as we can provide them with a great edutainment, educational experience, that is our goal. And we will go off-site anywhere we possibly can and get asked to. Then these are two on-site programs that are free. Creature Features, which takes our animal ambassadors out to different parts of the zoo to talk to people, and our little wildlife theater, which is just northwest or northeast of our pond, where we do more formal presentations. They're bench seatings. That's also where we do 90% of our weddings too. But those are both great places, and those numbers, as you can see, are going up, especially in the wildlife theater area. We also have grant-funded programs, which we live on a lot of grants. This is just one of them, our AmeriCorps federal grant program. This is our 5th year, and they do kids from K through 12 in all of our USD. The kids, our people go to the schools, they talk to them. The kids come to the zoo. They do free pre and post follow-up, and it's really has been a great opportunity for us. I love our AmeriCorps folks. And then Wildlife Explorers has been a grant-funded program since long before I ever started at the Racine Zoo. And we're starting to get those numbers back up. That's a free program for every 3rd grader in our USD. Sometimes our challenge is the 3rd grade teachers don't schedule a free program. So we work on that every year to try to get that up there, and their coordinator tries to make sure we'll get more, but they're going to come, like those last 2 weeks of May, right before school's out. But that's okay. We'll take them whenever we can get them. And then we also, as you remember, the last couple of years, we've talked about the empathy network, where part of our job is to talk about and get people engaged in empathy. So if they're empathetic to animals and nature and the surrounding areas, they are going to be better about being those next conservation stewards and all of that. So it's really been a great program that has been grant funded for us for the last several years. And then just to talk about our volunteer programs, we had 31 adult volunteers contribute 2,994 hours in 2023. We had 40 volunteers, which is age 13 to 18, gave us 2,063 hours for a total of 5,073 volunteer hours in the course of a year. And they do everything from data entry to helping with, say, extravaganza this Saturday to doing adopt mailings for me, and everything in between. They work throughout the entire zoo. So we have, if you know of anyone who wants to be a volunteer or volunteer, applications are due April 1st for this coming summer. All right, so we do a lot of events, and everyone goes, how can you? I run on adrenaline for most of my life and have been since probably I came out of the womb, but these are just some of the events that we have. So we had Bird Garden, we have Winter Picnic and a Snow Globe, Animal Amore, Wild for Wine, Call Me Old Fashioned, Extravaganza, which is this coming Saturday, a great family event, 10 to 4. We have 20 business booths. We've got egg decorating, cookie decorating, bounce houses, cluck cluck doors, candy all over the place, eggs. The Easter Bunny's coming because the Easter Bunny loves the Racine Zoo. So hopefully that number, please keep your fingers crossed for great weather. It's supposed to be about 51 and partly cloudy. I will take that temperature. So if we can get it up a little bit higher, I'd even love that more. And then we have Mother's Day brunch this year, or last year, which was May 14th, Bloody Mary Fest. We have Member Appreciation Night because we want to thank those over 2,000 member households. That's always the Thursday before Memorial Day. Very excited this year for that. It's great. And then we, of course, turned 100. So we had a lot of celebrations within our 100-year anniversary. Then we have Breakfast with the Giraffes, which is a huge event for us. A Round for Rhinos. All you golfers better get it in there. We've already got it on sale Margarita Fest. You know what? Yes, liquor does sell in the state of Wisconsin, so we're not going to shy away from it. The zoo owns the liquor license, so sometimes we happen to have those things. Animal Crackers, great event. Cigar dinner was our largest cigar dinner in the history of cigar dinner, which was our 28th annual last year. So huge. Love that event. Whiskers and Whiskey, our annual car, truck, and bike show, which is a huge hit. We have over 300 vehicles on property. And Zoo Debut, our largest ever, 449 in a 60 by 210 foot tent. And I believe there were some supervisors that came to that particular event. It was huge. It was one of the funnest events we've ever had. So we're going to live on that adrenaline and get that number to the 450 because I really want to hit 450 this year. Old fashioned cocktail night, which was we have contestants from bars and restaurants and people that just know how to make really great old fashions. And it's a really great contest for us. And then Jack-o'-lantern nights, it was our second year last year. Really huge amount. And we had over 21,000 people come in 20 nights. So, and it was a walkthrough, which is great for us because it sells those wands and sells those light up swords because that's what those kids want. So that's what we're going to give them. So great event. We're going to do that again this year. And then we had Halloween and Boo at the Zoo, Holly Jolly and Mingle because we were trying to purge whatever alcohol we had in the closet. And it worked out really great. So that's a really fun one. And now people are like, when's it next year? So I have no choice but to do it. Brunch with Santa. And then we start back again with winter picnics and a snow globe at the end of the year. So lots and lots and lots. Weddings, picnics, we probably had 10 weddings last year, 15 picnics, private parties. Okay, we'll do a little bit of marketing now. I'm going to keep going here. Media coverage, so I'll apologize profusely for me being on your morning shows, which you guys all watch because I love to go on TV. I never turn down free media. It's $2,500 a minute, so I will take it anytime I can get it. And these were just some of the things that we do. We also have online feature articles with various places, Journal Times, different news places, Racine County Eye. We do lots of digital radio advertising, and you name it, we will be there. You can kind of see a little bit on our Facebook. Chang Bai was a really big one for us, was a huge Facebook post. And the top performing one was, of course, when we got Fong, because it was just, you can't not love this face, right? I'm seeing everyone nod their head. It's a great face. And then Instagram, of course, Fong was a big hit there. You can see the numbers. And again, I'd be happy to share this with Wendy and she can make sure you guys all get this. And then of course we have Twitter. I don't know how to do Twitter, but I've got people that know how to do it. And then our website, which is very proactive website for us too. All right, so we're almost done here. E-blasts, we send those out every other week to all of our members, as well as anyone that is on, has liked us and said they want to get our information. We send out once a month our Wildlife Matters, which is more intense about our animals, about our events, and it's really just a great way to connect with our members. And we have two huge fundraisers. Our spring fundraiser, you're going to be seeing that information next week, which is all in for the animals. And then we have our Giving Zoo Day, which is our fall one, which is always the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. Giving Tuesday, we call it Giving Zoo Day because we like to put the spin on that. And then a little bit about facilities, just so you know, it's not always the sexy stuff, bringing the animals in, seeing school kids. Then we have kind of boring stuff to do. We got to keep the exhibits working. We had to modify the bear exhibit for Fong. We put on new roofs, both for our aviary as well as our low road raptor roost. Back of house rhinos, you can see before and after. That happens in less than a year. Rhino urine is really not conducive to any good things. It will corrode metal, it will wreck the wall. So we have to do that, especially for accreditation. But just so you can see what we have to go through annually, I promised facilities I would show that picture, as well as I would show this one, because we always make it pretty in less than a year. We got to do it all over again. And we renovated the tiger exhibit for Chang Bai. We had, because of new USDA regulations, we have to net the pools that we have. So we were really fortunate. We only have the penguin pool. Other zoos and aquariums have multiple outdoor pools, and they're ultimately going to have to do this. And this is more so a bird that's flying overhead is not going to land in the pool and and transfer disease. Okay. And then we had to redo the inside of our meerkat exhibit as well. And we created the north of the pavilion, which is our big event space anyway. We just put on crushed granite because it was a mud pit. And anyone who wants to come to a party up there, we don't want you sloshing around mud and everything. We'd rather have you have a good time without wrecking your shoes. So we fixed that all up. And a few other projects, we got new Wi-Fi throughout the entire campus, new key card access because we want to be concerned and make sure that we don't have riff-raff or people trying to sneak into the zoo through various means. So that just helps us out. We upgraded the alarm system in the gift shop and added 13 new cameras to the perimeter, which is great. And then a couple of new cameras in the jungle grill. And I just got 20 cameras donated today from somebody, and those are already in use. And we're going to put those in some animal exhibit spaces. So that was 2023. In a nutshell, of course, I didn't tell you everything that we do, but I gave you a good thumbprint. And then next year, we're gonna do lots more amazing things is our goal. So any questions for me?
Well, let's Supervisor Caprellian, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Thank you. My goodness, I can't even believe all that is compacted in a year's time. That's amazing. I don't know if you're able to go back to the slide that shows the attendance and where they're drawing from. But it was, and the only reason I wanted the visual, and I said this, but that's powerful because I've been racking my brains as you've been, my brain. How many do I have? But
You might have a couple.
but thinking about what do we have in our community that has that type of regional draw?
This one here?
It was it was a 2022 data. There it is.
Oops, sorry.
There it is. Yeah, I mean the zoos.
Oh, I meant that should be 2023. Sorry. I had a
Okay.
typo.
Yeah, I was going to ask if we could see what that looks like, but if that's the 2023, but the zoo's regional appeal is unmatched by any other attraction that I can think of in Racine County, and really making it a vital asset for not only area tourism, but also for our overall reputation. So I just think this is extremely powerful. If I'm combining that little blue wedge with, I think, the greater Racine area, because I think that blue wedge is Racine County as well, you have 56% coming outside of our area to Racine. That is powerful, Beth.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, oh, and I sent you a little message. I wanted to hug a flamingo. Did you see you with it?
I did see it. And the moment I can make that happen for you, I will, I promise.
Oh my gosh. There's another zoo that has just this experience that you can do with flamingos. Not like you're not doing enough, but I just thought that was pretty cool. So thank you.
Of course.
Anyone else? Supervisor Harmon, please.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. Great job. I really appreciate all that you do. I know that your hands are full. I actually would like to go back a slide and actually comment on this.
This one?
This one, yes, because the educational piece of it, I see how even before COVID, the numbers were, substantial. Those are good numbers, I think, from an educational piece. Individuals bringing their children to participate in that in the zoo. Of course, in 2020 and 2021, numbers are down. But as of last year, you're doing better than before COVID numbers, which is good. And I can attest to the zoo and their camp educational pieces because I have a granddaughter who is here today. Nora is in the audience. She actually participated in the zoo camp activities last year and would come home and have all these different, artsy things and tell us about the zoo animals and stuff. So I commend you. That has to took a teamwork effort. So continue to do a great job, and I support you on that.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you, Chairman. Beth, about 2 summers ago, this summer, I had my first opportunity to go to the zoo after being there for 37 years.
Was that at our picnic?
That was at our picnic.
And Supervisor Harmon was there?
Yes, and I said to Beth, I'm not a big zoo guy. And she says to me, wait till you go through here. So my quick story says, I fed the giraffes. And then she said, do you want to feed the rhinoceros? Okay. And I said, yeah, what do I do? She said, you better grab your arm because these skinny little arms, he'll suck you right in.
Nah.
Okay. Sure enough, you better grab your arm because they suck your arm right in. Anyways, let me tell you, I am hooked. I support you. Thank you very much because I like the zoo now.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
That
you very
melts my
much.
heart. I appreciate you.
Anyone else? Anyone else? I have one quick question. Can we, can you tell us if there is any new arrivals right around the corner? Like, that we can all get excited about and cheer and yell and scream?
Yes. Yes, we have some new arrivals that are going to be coming. It's got to be a secret.
Yeah, okay.
And watching on TV. We are going to be getting a sloth in end of April, first part of May, or more, maybe later May. And then we are going to be getting another bear. Yep. So we had put in for an Andean bear when our Andean bear passed. And they didn't have a bear for us, which is why we got fawn, because we love fawn anyway. And now it looks like we're going to get an Andean bear. So we'll have two different bear species that will be sharing that back of house space. They'll each go out separately. One will go out one day, one will go out another day. So that's going to be really great. And then we've got two new buildings that we're going to be building, which will also help us get more animals, a new vet center and a new education space. So those are going to be two big things that we're going to be launching here in a couple of probably less than a month. So
You know what? When we went on our picnic out there, we went to the vet center.
right.
Hallelujah, because I'm being very respectful, but your vet center was like a glorified closet.
Right, which is why we've wanted to do one, and it's gonna blow your socks off. So I'll talk to you about finances later.
No, actually,
Got to put my plug in
no,
there.
we have to have a lion and an elephant.
Elephant I can't do, lion I can.
Okay. Thank you. Supervisor, I'm sorry. Oh,
That's to say, and not in a pejorative way, that is to say, the maximum efficient use of what you had to use.
Absolutely, sir.
So it was more impressed than anything else, but I'd be excited definitely to see more real estate for you guys to utilize for all the work that you do. So
Yeah, and I'd be happy to bring, if anyone wants to come out to the zoo, we'd be happy to show you the drawings that we have, both renderings, and then those are ready to put a shovel in the ground.
Supervisor Kelly.
As a frequent flyer of the Racine Zoo, I really appreciate everything you do. You do an absolutely amazing job with all of those events, which I can attest to are amazing. I've attended almost all of them. My kids have been going there since they were 3 and 5 and aged out of all of the education programs, volunteering. So I just say it's an amazing job. The education piece and the fun side of it, it's somewhere that I grew up as a kid. So it's really important, vital part of the Racine community to keep this thing alive and going. So I just want to commend you. You do a fabulous job.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Spencer.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Beth. Thank you so much. The volunteer deadline you said was April 13th?
April 1st.
April 1st?
Applications are online.
That's close. Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Anyone else? Supervisor Capellion.
I'm back. I wanted to just mention, you talk about that hoof care that was going. So my mother, just a little fun fact, my mother's a farrier and she was the one responsible for the hoof care at the zoo some years ago, many years ago. She's very retired now. But while you have the platform, I know you talk about there are things in motion, and there's people listening and we love the zoo. And so we want to hear, what are wish lists? What's a wish list that you have or something to come, because you do take donations?
Okay, so if you can tell us a little bit about your wishes.
Yeah, so we take donations and we take sponsorships, and both of those really help us just maintain ourselves. The vet hospital and the new education center are going to be two huge, significant buildings for us. But if we, the next step after that would be to get our orangutans outside, build a new African penguin exhibit up in, say, our African area. Would be really nice to kind of put those in the right spot. So it's sometimes it's just the buildings. We're an old zoo. We're 100 years old, and some of our exhibits have been there since 1936. So renovating those things so that we can do the best animal care and have the best animals there for their health and mental well-being is really is critical for us. And we work and strive every day to make sure that happens. And sometimes it's with enrichment items. We have a group of guys that just have their wives save toilet paper rolls and paper towel rolls because those are enrichment for our animals. We have people that raise money for a rhino toy, which is like $500, but it's that heavy resin, so the rhinos aren't going to wreck it. So things like that, we live for those types of things. And if anyone wants more information, we tailor sponsorships and donation items to specifically who the donor is. We'd be happy to chat with them about some of those things. But right now, the two critical things is a new vet center, which is just about shovel ready, and the education center, so we can do more good works. Because if we do the vet center, we'll have more better care. We can take animals from USDA that get confiscated. I don't have room for them now. So it'd be a great partnership, both statewide and national, for us to be able to help out our counterparts. And then you've got better animals that are ready to go. They're out taken care of in their exhibit spaces. Guests come, attendance rises, and we reinvest in ourselves. Whatever dollar I make more than my budget goes right back into the zoo. Right back into the zoo to make sure that we do the best we can. Thank you for the question, though.
Anyone else? Otherwise, a big thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Good to see you. Okay. Where are we? Number 6, reading of the minutes of the previous meeting, which is automatically waived unless requested by a majority of the members present. 7, resolutions and ordinances referred to committees.
There are none.
8, introduction of resolutions and ordinances for first reading and referral.
Resolution number 2023-98 by Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee in support of urging the Wisconsin State Legislature to increase the local road maintenance budget. Resolution number 2023-99 by Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee to support a grant proposal to the National Association of Conservation Districts in partnership with the Root Pike Watershed Initiative for an urban agriculture and community conservation project at the Racine County Youth Development and Care Center. Resolution number 2023-100 by Finance and Human Resources Committee denying the property damage claim of Jeffrey House. Resolution number 2023-101 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the reclassification of one FTE Youth Program Tech N120 to one FTE Youth Program Coordinator N125, funding 2 previously unfunded safety and security workers N120, and creation of 8 FTE safety and security workers effective June 29, 2024, and use of sufficient ARPA funds within the 2024 budget. Resolution number 2023-102 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the acceptance of up to $200,000 from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation for the purchase of a brine maker, accessories, and building modifications, and transfer within the Public Works and Development Services 2024 budget, and ordinance number 2023-103 by Finance and Human Resources Committee amending the Racine County Code of Ordinances, Chapter 7, Article 7, Investment of Funds.
Okay. Number 9, communications and claims.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I believe there was a joint resolution from Finance and Public Works. I'm not sure who was
Yes,
Where?
requesting first reading from the meeting.
first reading this evening, Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
I'm sorry.
It's all right.
Go ahead.
This evening, we had a meeting with the Public Works and Finance and Human Resources Committee, and we'd like to forward tonight for first reading resolution 2023 104.
That would be resolution number 2023-104, joint resolution by the Finance and Human Resources Committee and the Public Works, Parks and Facilities Committee, authorizing acceptance and adoption of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Integrated Feasibility Report and Environmental Assessment of the Horlick Dam and its recommendation to proceed with removal of the Horlick Dam.
Okay, right? Now we can do communications and claims.
Yes, please. Number one, letter from the, oop.
Which one?
This is only for first reading, Supervisor Shakur. We will get you that fiscal note. There was a correction made to the document, so I think when it got copied this evening, the fiscal note got missed from the original. We'll make sure that gets emailed out to everyone. You're welcome. Communications. Number one, letter from the Division of Transportation System Development regarding surplus land disposal project ID 1030 in the Village of Raymond. And number two, notice of feasibility report update for GFL Internet Environmental Inc. Proposed Emerald Park landfill western expansion in the city of Muskego, Waukesha County from state of Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources.
Items 1 and 2 are referred to Economic Development and Land Use Planning Committee.
Number three, resolution in support of removing the Horlick Dam on the Root River from the Root Pike Watershed Initiative. And number four, letter of support on removal of the Horlick Dam from Southeastern Wisconsin Regional Planning Commission.
Items number 3 and 4 are referred to Public Works, Parks and Facilities, Finance and Human Resources Committee.
And items number 5 through 7 are claims. And the remaining communications, number 8 through 25, are notifications from the United States Bankruptcy Court.
Items 5 through 25 are referred to Finance and Human Resources Committee and Corporation Council.
Anybody want copies? Supervisor Shakur.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 3 and number 4.
Okay. Anyone else? Supervisor Trottier.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Number 4, please.
Okay, so be it. Supervisor
Number 4.
Spencer, you want 4 also? Vice Chairman Kramer?
Number 4.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, thanks. Number 10, communications from the county executive.
That would be report number 2023-55 by the county executive making a reappointment to the Western Racine County Sewerage District Board.
Okay. I was just thinking, okay, well, I'll refer to Ed Group Committee, and then we got another one, right?
Yep, and then we have report number 2023-56 by the county executive making an appointment to the Graham Public Library Board of Trustees.
And that's gonna go to executive. Thank you. Okay. Standing committee reports containing recommendations on items referred.
There are no reports.
Second reading of resolutions and ordinances.
Since we have already done the item under majority vote, we just have those under the 2/3 majority vote. That would be resolution number 2023-94 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the reclassification of one FTE non-rep non-exempt Windows to Work Coach N070 to one FTE non-rep exempt lead Windows to Work Coach E40 effective April 6th of 2024 and use of sufficient funds within the 2024 Human Services budget. And resolution number 2023-95 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the reclassification of one FTE non-rep exempt youth vocational coordinator E40 to one FTE non-rep exempt youth justice lead worker E050 effective April 6, 2024 and use of sufficient funds within the 2024 Human Services budget.
Adoption, Mr. Chairman.
Moved and seconded. Supervisor Trottier, help us.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Windows to Work program is a grant funding workforce development program that helps inmates who are about to be released in Racine County area so they can search and secure employment to ensure successful reintegration into the community. The program has seen an increase from one coach to a need for 2, followed by intense support to acclimate new employees into the position of teaching within the Racine Correctional Institution and the Racine Youthful Offender Correctional Facility. It's important that we understand a couple of individuals that are served through this position. Example, male 49, incarcerated since the age of 14 and seeking residence and employment with little acumen for technology or specific skills to support employability. Example number 2, male 32, incarcerated since age 16 and seeking residence and employment with no external support system. The ask is to reclassify the position from an N70 to an E40 so that it is accurately positioned. And this position, we are asking that it be at a midpoint so the pay meets the demand of the work as compared to any other positions within the county. And that was Resolution 2023-94. And Resolution 2023-95 involves the Racine County youth are provided with outstanding, innovative, and robust services. The ongoing demands for excellent service and support continue to grow. Maintaining youth safety in the community while offering both preventative and rehabilitative services places an expectation of staff and supervisors to continue and to work and to improve. The reclassification of this position is requested. I have Kristen Lattis here to answer any questions in regards to these 2 resolutions, should there be any.
Questions, anyone? Supervisor Cropelian.
Thank you. This probably goes for both of them, but specifically for the first one, I would assume that the stakeholders like the Wisconsin Department of Corrections and the Workforce Development Boards, when you have this change of classification, are they contacted and do they give some feedback, or does that change some of that partnership?
Thank you for the question. It does not change the partnership. So what happens with the position that is overseen by the Department of Corrections, and then the grant, it filters through the Southeastern Workforce Board, but the grant is given to us and reauthorized each year. And so within that grant, we have the funding that is provided for 2 coaches, and we have that additional funding that is there, and we are able to move within that range.
Okay, thank you. And again, for both of these, I know they both sum up and say that sufficient funds are within the 2024 human service budget. I'd be more curious of the specific costs associated with these change per pay grade. Are you able to provide us that for each of?
I don't have that with me. It should have been in the fiscal note as we were moving between the N70 into an absolutely different grade of the E40 for the Windows to Work coach. What we were looking at there was equitable workload. This is a really hard to fill position. We have had quite a bit of turnover, and finding the right person that is willing to go into a correctional facility, work with individuals who are incarcerated, and then follow them once they're released back into the community and looking to be a contributing member of society. And the demands are great. And what we were finding is with this specific individual who was, and I know this isn't your question, but just to share that with both of these individuals, they have gone above and beyond, not only in their position, but also in assisting other divisions within human services and partnering with their coworkers, managers, supervisors, and have been sought after by departments out or
entities outside of Racine County. And so to, one, not reclass the position to where it appropriately should be based upon the workload, and also ensure that we're retaining some very, very important individuals who do so much for not only the county and within human services, but truly the community, and individuals who are in that kind of hard to serve population, who we really truly want to provide preventative and ongoing care for. We can get you, if it's not in the fiscal note, absolutely send you the information.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. And I know that Racine County has a great reputation for long-term employment. So it's really getting that right balance, especially for these positions. So I can understand that play in that area. But yeah, it would be great to see what that cost is associated with those changes. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Those-
Supervisor,
Those fiscal notes are attached to the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Meyer.
Thank you, Chairman. Just in regards to 2023-94, just a little side note that we were successful with 22 individuals that they found positive placement employment. And they're averaging about a 70% placement rate in the Windows of Work program. So just a little side note.
Thank you. Anyone else? These are 2/3 majority votes, so that means we're going to do them electronically. And John, help us.
Let's make sure everyone's checked in. Okay. You can move forward. All have voted and motion passes 16-0.
Okay, thank you. 13, reconsideration of resolutions and ordinances from previous meetings and or action on vetoes.
There are no items.
14, reconsideration of and or notice of intent to reconsider resolutions and ordinances.
There is no notice from the board.
Informational reports.
We have report number 2023-53 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the settlement of the property claim of American Family Insurance Company on behalf of Cassandra Thorson. And report number 2023-54 by Finance and Human Resources Committee authorizing the settlement of the property claim of American Family Insurance Company on behalf of Alan Zansky.
And 16, miscellaneous business announcements and oral reports. Anyone? Supervisor Harmon? No? Anyone? Okay. Oh, wait. Vice
Happy
Chairman
Easter.
Kramer.
Everybody have a happy Easter.
Oh, wait. Supervisor Kerpellian.
We have a youth and governance representative here this evening that if you would like to come up to the podium and give us a little bit. We often don't have you here, but I would like to acknowledge that, Nick, you are here. And why don't you come tell us your school that you're in and just a little bit about yourself.
First off, I didn't know that she was going to say that.
Nice, Nick.
I'm Nick. I go to Racine Lutheran High School. I don't know what's it really.
Your grade level?
I'm a senior in high school. Yes.
So what's your last name?
Blount. Blount.
Say it again.
Blount. Blount.
Okay, thank you.
I thought the zoo presentation was really cool.
Yeah.
I want to go check out that tiger. Maybe the bear.
Thank
Okay.
you for being here.
Welcome aboard.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Shakur. You got it.